It's fair to say that even the most hardcore Star Wars fans can't keep track of everything, because even if you read your fair share of canon comics and novels, there's always more lore-expanding material out there than anyone can ever ingest and remember. And given the breadth and depth of the franchise, it's little surprise that the movies have left a number of burning questions hanging. Questions like, what shampoo does Chewbacca really use? And will Luke ever wear the cool promotional outfit from A New Hope in an actual story? You know, important stuff like that. I'm Ewan, you're watching What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 Star Wars mysteries explained outside of the films. Number 10. How did C-3PO get his red arm? The mystery. When C-3PO reappears in The Force Awakens, he's sporting a distinctive red arm, before eventually getting a replacement at the end of the movie. However, the replacement arm is never explained in any of the 3 sequel trilogy films, so how did 3PO end up with it? The answer. The 2016 one-shot comic Star Wars C-3PO explains that a Resistance mission involving 3PO and a number of other droids goes spectacularly wrong when they crash land on the acidic planet known as Tor. 3PO ends up having his arm ripped off by a tentacled monster, and the only other surviving droid, a First Order protocol droid named Omri, sacrifices itself by walking out into the acid rain to activate a Resistance distress beacon. Omri is promptly melted by the acid rain, leaving behind only his arm, which has been stripped down to its base red metal color. As a tribute to his fallen pal, C-3PO picks up the arm and fixes it to himself. Just, if this happens to a buddy in real life, maybe don't do that. Number 9. Why did it take Luke and Leia so long to rescue Han? The mystery. Given that Return of the Jedi takes place roughly a year after The Empire Strikes Back, why the hell did it take Luke and Leia so damn long to hatch a plan to rescue Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt? The answer. The recently released comic book series, Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters, has done a bang-up job of explaining the complications which prevented Han's speedy recovery. As it turns out, Jabba didn't have Han brought directly to his palace on Tatooine after capturing him, and he was ultimately intercepted by none other than his former flame Kira. Kira then auctioned the still frozen Han off, an auction which Jabba actually ended up winning. However, Darth Vader interrupted the festivities and, after a brief show of power, took custody of Solo's carbonite-encased body, wishing to use him to draw out his rascally son. The series is still ongoing, but confirms that Han wasn't just sitting around frozen in Jabba's palace for an entire year without incident. He was a majorly sought-after commodity in the Star Wars underworld. Number 8. How did Darth Vader find out Luke was his son? The mystery. In The Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader tells Luke that he is his father, but how exactly did Vader himself come to learn this crucial piece of knowledge after seemingly having no idea who he was in A New Hope? The answer. In the 6th issue of Star Wars Darth Vader by Kieran Gillen and Salvador LaRocca, it's revealed that Vader sent Boba Fett off to find out the identity of the pilot who destroyed the Death Star at the end of A New Hope. Fett eventually tracks Luke down, and though Luke avoids being captured, Fett returns to Vader with the name Skywalker, triggering a sort of Vietnam-esque flashback to memories from Anakin's earlier life, namely Padme's death and childbirth. This confirms to Vader that Palpatine was lying to him about the fate of his own son, setting in motion both Vader's attempts to bring Luke to the dark side and his eventual double-crossing of the Emperor. Number 7. What happened to Luke's missing hand? The mystery. To add injury to insult, Darth Vader not only informs Luke of his true parentage, but also lops his hand off with his lightsaber. As a macabre mystery that's haunted Star Wars fans for literally decades, where exactly did Luke's severed hand end up? The answer. In what would have honestly been the worst piece of fan service ever, an early version of The Force Awakens was actually going to show Luke's lightsaber gripping hand soaring through space, but a concrete canonical answer was given in the recent 11th issue of the Star Wars Darth Vader comic. In the story, set after The Empire Strikes Back, Vader heads to Exegol to confront Palpatine, who ends up showing in the collection of horrors housed within his laboratory, as we see in The Rise of Skywalker. But here's the kicker. Luke's hand is seen in one of the cloning vats in Palpatine's lab, prompting many fans to consider whether the Emperor could have been using the hand to bring about his own resurrection, or have even created a Luke Skywalker clone at some point or another. We still don't know how exactly Palpatine retrieved the hand from Bespin, but it's at least finally been accounted for. Number 6. Why didn't Yoda recognize R2-D2 in The Empire Strikes Back? The mystery. Perhaps as much a plot hole as it is an unsolved mystery, many fans have questioned over the years why Yoda didn't recognize R2 when he came to Dagobah with Luke Skywalker in Episode 5. Given that the prequels make it clear that Yoda interacted with R2 and knew who he was, it makes no sense whatsoever for Yoda to just blank the droid like that. And yes, obviously, the prequels are made after this, but let's just think about the universe lore implications for now. The answer. To celebrate Empire's 40th anniversary, a new anthology storybook from a certain point of view, The Empire Strikes Back, was released. One of the stories chronicles Yoda's first meeting with Luke from the Jedi Master's perspective, which explains his relationship with R2. Even though the droid was caked with algae, dirt, and stomach fluid, its appearance and familiar blips were still quite recognizable. R2-D2. Of course the boy had Anakin's old droid with him. Such cycles of fate no longer surprised the 900-year-old Jedi. So there you have it. Yoda's been reunited with so many old friends over the years that he doesn't even greet them with kindness anymore, apparently. It's true what they say, you really do get grumpier as you get older. Number 5. Who are the Knights of Ren? The mystery. The mysterious Knights of Ren were briefly introduced in The Force Awakens, and fans hoped that The Rise of Skywalker would finally reveal what they were actually all about. But alas, no dice. So, what's the deal? The answer. The comic series Star Wars The Rise of Kylo Ren goes into considerably greater depth about the Knights of Ren, thankfully. It reveals that the knights, named Aplek, Cardo, Karuk, Trudgeon, Ushar, and Vikrul, which, flippin' heck, these guys should start their own band, are a group of Force-sensitive mercenaries who are neither Jedi or Sith. They are collectively named after their leader, Ren, a scarred soldier whose red lightsaber the group effectively worship. Ren left an open invitation for Ben Solo to join their ranks after crossing paths with him in his younger days, and following Ben's whole burning down of the Jedi Temple thing as featured in Episode 8, he meets with Supreme Leader Snoke, who urges him to seek out the Knights. Ren informs Ben that he will need to carry out a good death before he can join the squad, and when Ben refuses, Ren decides to kill him in frustration. However, Ben surprises Ren by giving in to the dark side and fighting back, ultimately murdering Ren, taking his name, and inheriting his knights. All of this having been orchestrated by Snoke and therefore Palpatine too. Number 4. How did Phasma escape Starkiller Base? The mystery. After Captain Phasma is taken hostage by the heroes in The Force Awakens and dropped into a trash compactor, just how does she manage to escape Starkiller Base before its destruction to reappear in The Last Jedi? The answer. In the 2015 comic miniseries Star Wars Captain Phasma, it's revealed that Phasma is able to escape the trash compactor after a Resistance bombing run blows a hole in it. After this, Phasma wipes clean the record of her lowering Starkiller Base's shields for Finn and frames a fellow officer, Sol Revis, for the act instead, before getting the hell out of Dodge in a TIE fighter. The rest of the comic chronicles her attempts to track down and escape Revis and kill him, which she eventually does, tying up the single loose end, pointing to her dishonor. Phasma remains one of the sequel trilogy's biggest missed opportunities, but this comic lends some welcome added context to her character. Number 3. Everything about Palpatine's resurrection. The mystery. The resurrection of Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker is such a head-spinning, patently absurd moment in Star Wars lore, matched only by how little the film actually bothers to explain it. So, just how on earth did he come back to life and bring an entire army to Exegol? The answer. The novelization and visual dictionary of The Rise of Skywalker, as well as the recent Star Wars Darth Vader comic, have filled in a lot of the blanks. For starters, the novelization confirms that Palpatine was indeed a clone, as many fans had theorized, an imperfect vessel temporarily housing Palpatine's undying spirit. The visual dictionary, meanwhile, confirms that Palpatine's acolytes on Exegol are the Sith Eternal, the most devout Sith followers who came to Exegol specifically to bring Palps back to life using technology and the occult. As for how such a huge fleet were created on such a far-flung planet, well, the Sith Eternal enacted their might upon shipwrights, engineers, and slaves to build the fleet over the course of several decades, the Sith Eternal using their influence to smuggle parts from nearby shipyards to the dark desert planet. The aforementioned Darth Vader comic goes on to chronicle a conflict between Palpatine and Darth Vader prior to Return of the Jedi, where it's revealed that Palpatine had actually been building the Final Order since the period of the original trilogy. When Vader heads to Exegol, this is where he catches his aforementioned sighting of Luke's hand, and later discovers that the Final Order fleet is being powered by a massive kyber crystal mountain situated on the planet. Ugh, the more Star Wars devotes its time to this dumb retcon, the more I despair. Number 2. How did the Skywalker lightsaber survive? The mystery. So, exactly how did the Skywalker lightsaber survive after it was last seen being cleaved away from Luke Skywalker along with his hand in The Empire Strikes Back, and end up in Maz Kanata's possession? The answer. In The Force Awakens, Maz calls this a good question for another time, and in Marvel's Star Wars comic series launched last year, we finally get to the bottom of it, sort of. While trying to track down the saber, Luke has a vision of a hooded figure catching the weapon as it falls from Cloud City, and it's eventually revealed that this individual is known to fans in the wider canon, a Force-sensitive woman by the name of Verla. Naturally, she's none too thrilled when she realizes who Luke is related to, and responds by trying to drown him. Ultimately, we still don't know the exact circumstances of how the lightsaber was transferred to Maz, but we can probably expect to find out as the Star Wars comics transition from the gap in between episodes 5 and 6 and move into the aftermath of Return. And number 1. How did Palpatine cut the Jedi off from the Force? The mystery. In the prequels, Mace Windu makes mention of Palpatine finding a way to cut the Jedi off from the Force, noting that their ability to wield the Force has been significantly diminished. How exactly was he able to do this? The answer. Charles Soule's High Republic novel Light of the Jedi is set roughly 200 years before the events of The Phantom Menace, and finally delves into this. In one scene, where Nal Marauder Marchion Ro has Jedi Master Loden Greatstorm taken hostage, he reveals that the Jedi's abilities are weakened by spreading hate and fear throughout the galaxy. He says, while periodically torturing an array of other prisoners surrounding Greatstorm, the following: the prisoner's job is to fill the entire deck with pain and anger and fear. Makes it hard for you to think, doesn't it? Hard for you to call on the Force. You don't imprison Jedi behind bars, you do it with pain. Given the immense instability caused by the Clone Wars, it goes without saying that pain, anger, and fear would be in bountiful supply to help Palpatine heavily restrict the Jedi and their powers. And those were 10 Star Wars mysteries explained outside of the films. Know of any other movie mysteries that were answered in the expanded canon? Let me know down in the comments below. Drop the video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to Wild Culture Star Wars so you don't miss another upload going forward. I've been Ewan. You can catch me on Twitter at EwanRuinsThings, and I'll hopefully see you next time. Bye!